Hello everybody, I'm Meso, and welcome to another exciting Bionicle news update thing. Technically this is more of a reminder than a news update, but either was following up on a video that LJ made about 3.5 weeks ago regarding Bionicle G1 canonization contests. For anyone who didn't watch that video, here's a very brief recap. Back during the later years of the Bionicle theme, Greg Farshty, the author of the Bionicle story, would participate in what were called canon contests over on, Biosector 01 Wiki, BZ Power, Kanohi Journal, etc., where fans were able to submit mocks or artwork for characters who never received visual representation in the official Bionicle story, like serial-only characters who never got sets. People like that. People like Surtivus, Surel, Nikila, etc. And then the community would vote on these mocks and or pieces of artwork. The winner of the contest, Greg would take a look at and approve as the official canon interpretation of that character in the Bionicle story, and they'd be put up on the wiki. Well, Greg recently, 2 months or so ago, or last month, I don't know, responded to a fan's question asking if he would ever consider doing contests like that again, and his response was, I actually would, if the Bionicle community actually wanted it. So we started a poll as a way to gauge interest on whether people actually wanted it, because the Bionicle canon, that whole discussion is typically consisted of a lot of different perspectives, some in support of it, some against it, and we wanted to actually get an aggregate of what people think. So the poll was supposed to end a few days ago, but we're going to extend it just because we want to make sure as many people vote as possible. There's really no harm in extending the deadline. We said we'd give it an extra week from the actual date the poll was supposed to end. Which, if we were going to adhere to that, then, it would end in 4 or so days from the time of this video going live. Because the poll was supposed to actually end on the 26th. So it's the 30th now. Because I dragged my feet in making this video, I'm just going to extend it again. I'm going to extend it 1 week from the time this video goes live, which is the 30th of March. So it's going to end on April 6th. Concretely, it's going to end on April 6th. During this time, spread it around. Spread it around to everybody you know who might care about this. If they don't care, they don't have to vote. But if they do care, please vote. Because if currently the poll is leaning one way, but it could always change. And, Greg, at the end of the day, is going to look at this poll's results and then make his decision one way or the other. So the community decides what happens here. Personally speaking, I am in favor of these contests. I love them. I think they're one of the best things we could possibly do as far as, community integration with the Bionicle story. Because it's not like we're trying to get, the physical appearance of some random no-name Matoran canonized. That would be kind of invasive. That would be kind of stupid. We're talking about important characters with speaking lines in the story serials who never really had a physical form, like Helrix, like Artaka, like Lariska, people like that, people who we always kind of wanted to see what they looked like, but because they just never got Bionicle sets, we never actually got to see. That's what this contest would be for. So I love it. I'm in full support of it, just to get my own bias out of the way. But if you are not, for whatever reason, please feel free to go vote and share your comments. If you are in support of it, please feel free to go vote and share your comments in the topic. We've started a discussion. There's a lot of intricacies to the contest. It should be noted that we did ask Greg about certain, key issues, like, whether Bionicle G2 masks would be allowed, whether CCBS parts would be allowed, whether custom 3D printed pieces would be allowed, and Greg basically approved everything. That doesn't necessarily mean everything will be in the contest, because we have to discuss how we would do, the rules, hypothetically, but just as an update on that from the first video, Greg did basically approve anything, because creativity is the most important thing in his mind. Now, that doesn't mean that we would necessarily see, a Hellrix that's 90% CCBS. That's where the poll would come into play. People would be able to filter out things that didn't mesh with the G1 aesthetic. Or, we would implement a build ratio rule, so you could only use like 20% CCBS, 80% by G1 and Technic, stuff like that. We have a long way to go in terms of fleshing out the rules. This poll is not for that. This poll is for the very concept as a whole. This poll is for whether you would want it or not. So go vote. Like I said, April 6th's deadline. We'll see you all then. Please share it around. That's basically it. I'm Meso. Thank you for listening, and farewell.